All right, welcome to another episode of Bobby's Book Reviews here on IGTV and on our YouTube channel, The Catholic Couple. As promised, the next book that I said I was going to do is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. He's an author who does a lot of stuff in Stoicism, which centers around the teachings of meditations by Marcus Aurelius, an ancient Roman before Christ. And basically how, when someone is stoic, it's like, in adversity or trials, that they're not freaking out, that they stand up and they live virtuous, no matter what's going on around them. So that's kind of what this book kind of dovetails into. And I'm going to kind of try to tie it into Christianity at the same time. So the book is broken down into three different parts. The first part is perception, the second part, action, third part, the will, the three different things. So as the title says, the obstacle is the way. So it kind of sounds, that doesn't make sense. How can the obstacle be the way? If there's something in my way, how can that be the way? Well, that's what he's going to go through this book and how I'm going to try to walk you through it about how that actually means. I know Carl Jung, he once said that the thing that we don't want to do the most is probably the thing that we need to do the most. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it is. I know for me and my life, that's the reason I picked this book up, because there's been something I've been trying to do. I've been almost avoiding it. So it's like, how do we take these things that we know that we should do to take them head on and how to do it? So the first step is perception. So we know what to perceive means, or to look at something. When you see an object, what it is it's reality. That is what it is. But then we have to get that into our brains and how we process that and how we perceive that as a threat or something that can help us or whatever it is. And a lot of times, that's what fear stands for. They say it's false evidence that appears real. So a lot of times in any situation, whether that's a person or something that we're trying to avoid, that we can always build up to be worse than what it is. I know Jordan Peterson always says it's better to fight the dragons when they're real small than to let them get bigger and bigger. And I know in my personal life, the times when I know there's those things I should do, this bill I should have paid, or this person I should have called, or I should apologize to this person. And the more you wait and don't do those things, it builds so much on top of you. And when after you do it, it's usually like, oh, that wasn't such a big deal. Why did I wait so long? Or why didn't I do that before? Because we know that those things aren't going to go away. So sometimes the things that we need to do are right in front of us, but sometimes they can seem overwhelming. That's based a lot about how we see the things. Now, we're not saying to not exaggerate or under exaggerate, no, but just see things as they actually are. So not trying to create a crazy big dragon about it, but if it's something like, hey, I need to call this person because we had a falling out and I don't want to sound stupid or your pride or whatever it is. But a lot of times the other person may not even know that it was that big of a deal, or the person you haven't talked to in 5 years. It's like you pick up the phone and they're like, oh, I'm so glad you called. They're like, okay, well, why did I wait this so long? So a lot of times it isn't as serious as we perceive it in our brain. So one of the lines that he says in here is, perception, what matters the most is not what these obstacles are, but how we see them, how we react to them, and whether we can keep our composure. And I think a lot of that with our perceptions is obviously our past. All of the things that have happened to us is how we're going to interpret how this is going to happen. But what happened in the past in that situation doesn't necessarily going to translate into the present. Just because you were in a bad relationship before and that's what your ex used to do, and now you're in a new relationship and you assume or project that onto your new spouse, your new girlfriend, or someone else, a friend or something else that's come into your life. Also, a big part of this is being able to control your emotions. And I know this, especially for me, in any kind of situation, I'm really quick to get amped up. I'm really passionate. I'm real quick to lose my anger or my patience. And as I've learned, as I'm growing in the spiritual life, I'm learning how to take a pause, how to take a breath, how to take a step back and try to not let my emotions overrun me. Because, when you get in that flight or fight mode, of course, you're going to do and make drastic actions to try to handle the situation. When if you can just take a deep breath and kind of calm down and see the situation as it is, that you're not going to act out emotionally. You're not going to react. You're going to, think about what you're actually going to do. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, and it takes practice. I know one of my other book reviews was practicing the presence of God. And that's what that book has helped teaching me, and hopefully can help teach you, is that if we slow down and spend the whole day with Jesus, trying to get him to be with us throughout the whole day and recognize that he is there, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. But if we can learn how to pause and have that patience when something happens, we can slow down and handle that. The other part, he says, it does take self-control and it takes grace. And as Christians, we know that patience and all these different things, that's grace from God. You have to ask God to help you to deal with those things. If short temper, patience, anger, those things are in you, you got to ask God to help take that away and to pray about it and just always stay in that presence. I like this line. I'm not sure if this is in the book or not. I just wrote it in my notes. But Viktor Frankl, he was a Holocaust survivor. And his line was, "Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in this space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." And I know, especially for me, I used to always say, well, you're making me mad. Or that person's doing this and it's making me mad. Or whatever that may be. But in actuality, other people don't make us mad. Their actions may be wrong and that we may not agree with them, but that space, that stimulus, that space in between their action and how I react is up to me. Nobody controls me. And if they do, then you're letting another person control your emotions and by basically controlling you. So if another person does something to you that you don't agree with or is horrible, you still have the choice on how to act and how to react, how you perceive that. Hey, maybe this person's having a bad day. I like Rick Warren saying is hurt people hurt people. Maybe we don't understand what's going on with that person, why they're so short tempered, why they're being mean, why they're being a jerk. Just because they're being a jerk doesn't mean that we have to be a jerk. So that's why the pause and the practice of the presence is a good step to try to help us step back and not to be reactive, but to be proactive. So, and part of it, what he goes into about being proactive is that we have to anticipate these kinds of things. I know for me, I get a lot of anxiety when I'm running late or I'm like waiting around to go somewhere, and I figure that out. So what I do now is like, whatever, if my wife Katie is getting ready and hey, I'm like, hey, let me know when you're about 10 minutes out, then I'll start getting ready then, instead of me getting ready and then pacing back and forth like a crazy person, because I just get anxiety. So I anticipate that's what's going to happen. Or if I'm going to leave to go somewhere, I just leave a little bit early because I can't stand and I can't control that feeling that I get of that anxiety building inside me. So I find ways to try to anticipate that, hey, I may get stuck by a train, or hey, some jerk may cut me off, or hey, I might get a flat tire, something's going to happen, but at least I leave that space in between to give me that true freedom to not be, dealt into the anxiety and the stuff that overtakes, because then you don't act like yourself.